Hey everybody, I am Big Will and that is Southern Comic Geek, and we really didn't have time to plan anything. I just said, hey, I saw something, you want to talk about it? He goes, sure, I'm not doing anything, so here we are. So I've been doing, I actually forgot how many, so I titled this Turnaround Time Update Number question mark,
No.
because I can't remember how many we've done with these companies, and it's been a while. And like I was telling you off air, it's easily either you or Hudat who's normally on with me. And since you said you wasn't doing anything, I thought might as well do it while I'm thinking about it now. And CBCS just released a post. Uh, Apparently, it was 7 hours ago, but in my feed, it just now showed up. They have a pricing tier update,
Uh-oh.
and they're updating some of their turnaround times and a few other things. So, if you recall, the last time I did a video on this, CBCS had changed things to where they now had that express tier stuff that was guaranteed, and then the standard, which was taking like over a year. I think at one time vintage was like almost a year and a half or so. I mean, it was crazy bad backed up. And you and I were looking forward to their magazines that were supposed to come out in April of last year, I believe. And that has yet to come to fruition. And then CBCS makes this post about a pricing tier update. And I had noticed earlier uh, they took away the membership, or by the 31st of this month, memberships, they're not going to be good anymore. And I also noticed their vintage went from 200 something days to 40. And they started advertising they have a 40-day business day turnaround time. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try this out. So I got 4 books at the Comic Book Chiropractor,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to be sending them CBCS for their 40-day turnaround time because I had some points left anyway I wanted to get rid of. So that's where we left off. Do you want to hear what they're doing now?
Yeah, because I just don't know that I believe it. I mean, how did they magically wave their magic wand and say, "Oh yeah, you know all this time we were taking, don't worry about it. We're going to be so much faster."
Well, I think they probably were getting a little faster, and they just took their time and didn't change it at all until they got to where they were like, okay, that's good enough. We can advertise. But I'm not sure. They haven't exactly been trustworthy, or at least shown competence,
Mm-hmm.
like with the magazine and everything. But anyway, here's what they're doing. They're doing a new priority service level that is going to help them break it apart so they can have different areas with different turnaround times. So there's the new comic books, that's 2001 to present, and they've got it so the standard turnaround time is $22, and that's up to $1,000 value, and it's right now at 180 business days. So that one's still forever.
Yeah.
Now they got a new priority turnaround time, $32 if it's $1,000 value, or $45 if it's a $4,000 value, up to, those are the max value. And it's 60-day turnaround time. And then they have their express tier, which is a 15-day turnaround time guaranteed, and that's $40 up to $1,000, $60 up to $4,000, and $80 up to $7,000 in value. So before we go on to the rest, just for the brand new comics, 2001 to present, do you think that's a good change, bad change, or you really don't care? You're just
I don't remember what they what they were at before. What was their price for that?
turnaround time. Well, their price point before was $20. And if you did the express tier, which was the very next thing, for 15-day turnaround, it was $40. So that hasn't changed. They've added a priority tier. Well, first off, they raised the price by $2, And then they added a priority tier that's an extra 10, but instead of 180 days, they say they'll get you in 60.
Yeah, so essentially, I mean, all it is a price increase without calling it a price increase.
Well, and they're adding a completely new tier. It used to be you would send books and they'd go to the standard line or the express line or the other express or the other express. They had 3 different expresses. So it went from 4 lines to now it's just 3 lines. And the only thing that'll make it change is the value of the book.
Yeah, I just, I mean, which CGC did something just the same or similar to this. So it's not like it's just CBCS, but I mean, I'm just thinking that essentially, hey, I don't want to say I'm having a price increase. So we say, you can keep doing it the same way, but it's still going to take forever.
But here's the modern. Modern is 75 to 2001. The standard time is the same price that it was. They didn't up it.
Okay.
And it's 180 days. And then there's the priority tier that's new, and that's $34. So that's $2 more for max value of 1,000 for priority. 34, and that's a 60-day turnaround time. And then the 45 if it's valued up to 4,000, and then they have the express, and it's 40, 60, 80. That's actually, they raised the price to 60 from the express tiers because they got a bump. The express tiers got a price increase, and now they're bringing it back down. So they actually lowered express pricing on both the new and the modern comics.
And the other part of a price increase, or how they want to phrase it. Hey, Tina. The only thing with that is that I gotta wonder how much their volumes have stayed the same or increased or decreased. With the market the way it is.
I would have to guess that it's decreased. I mean, even the people who are still grading, like me, I've had to switch to CGC because of the prices and the turnaround time. They have to have at least 2 things better than CGC for me to use them. Right now, or they used to only have 1 thing, and that was the case.
Yeah.
But now, with this new priority time, see, I don't know about you, but my sweet spot is 50 business days. To me, if it's more than that, people start complaining. And if it's less than that, they just don't say anything because they like it. It's fast, relative. So 60, and I know they're going to try and make it even lower. To me, that's sort of a nice sweet spot there. And $34, if you're going to get something graded, but it's not worth it at $34, but yet it was worth it at $24, then it was never really worth it, and you can't afford it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and talking about decreasing of inventory coming in, I would think that that also not just the market overall, but the price towards those type of books that might or might not be worth it. Because if you got a book that's $100 book, if you get a 9.8, you just got to think that a lot of those kind are not being sent in no more.
Well, it's my personal opinion that if you do volume, I understand grading a book that you're like, well, it might get a 9.8, and you spend $20 on it or something. But if you're just sending it a few books at a time, I think it should be more expensive than $20 or $24, because if it's not, then everybody's sending in crap books that should never be sent in the first place, the ones that you just mentioned. So I kind of like how it's super long turnaround time for modern, 180 business days at $24, but yet at $34, it goes to 60, and another $6 at 40. You can get the express back, and that's 2 weeks. And those are the books that are worth it enough to send in but that you can't just send in because it's cheap to send in, because they're not really worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the one of the other things that you do sometimes with these rate adjustments is you're basically saying, "Hey, I'd rather be in this side of the business than this business." I mean, if you want to send it, fine, it's more expensive, but
Yeah.
really, and I think that age bracket is more of a sweet spot for them, and so they probably would rather steer clear of the nickel and dime books and get into a little
Yeah.
higher price tier book.
Now, the next thing is the vintage. These are pre 1975. And if you remember, I told you and Hudat that when they upped the Express from $60 to $80 for a vintage book on the Express tier, that took me out, because at the time it was over 200 business days to send it in at the $40 mark, which was the standard price for vintage books. So that right there is what forced me back to CGC. Because like I said, they got to have two things, and at that point they only had the case that was better. But here's the vintage. So it's $40 for the standard, but they have managed to get that, if they are not lying, if they're telling the truth, they managed to get their vintage down to 40 business day turnaround time for the standard cost of $40. And then they have a priority tier that's $10 more for $50, and it's a 30-day turnaround time. And then they have the Express, and they lowered the price back down to what it was, $60. Now, obviously, I'm not mentioning the higher values make you pay a little more, but for the standard stuff, it's $40, $50, or $60, and that's 40, 30, or 15-day turnaround time for vintage books. That is by far the best tier and pricing structure I think I've ever seen in the past 5 years.
So they're doing away with their membership stuff?
Well, there was a comment on this post from someone addressing CBCS and their membership. So the current memberships are going away at the end of this month, and they have something that they're going to do, but it's all hush hush, and they haven't actually said anything. Because if I find it here, what is happening to memberships? The response from CBCS was, an announcement about memberships is coming soon. That's all they said. So the current memberships are ending at the end of the month, and new memberships or something else is going to be announced soon. I think what they're going to do is say, these are good prices, and we're working on the turnaround time, and the priority and express tiers are already a good turnaround time. I think they're just going to do away with memberships. That's what I hope. And it's just pay.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I could see it from a business standpoint of differentiating themselves from CGC, but that reoccurring income every year.
Oh, I know it's not going to happen, but that's what I hope happens.
Yeah.
But
well, because now one thing with that, I think that they're going to do away with the points that we get.
Well, if they have to do something in order to entice me to pay the membership fee. So if they do what they did kind of before, which is $100, or we'll say $150 a year, and you get a 5 or 10% discount on the fee and no points. Well, that's a low enough price and a good enough percentage that you don't have to send in 100 books or 1,000 books to break even on that.
Right.
So that would probably be good. I bet you that's what they're doing, because if you remember when we signed up this last time, it was a flat $200. We got a 10% discount on all the tiers and that point system. So I'm hoping that they just do away with it, but they'll probably do a lower price per year and just give either the points or the discount, not both. That's what I'm thinking.
Right. Yeah, because I've gotten some points from the order that they finally released after 8 months, 9 months, whatever it was. And I kind of wondering what I might send to him next because,
Yeah.
like you, I've kind of ventured over to back to CGC
Yeah.
as a result of the turnaround.
Like I said, because of the memberships ending this month, I had some points, so I used the points and I used the discount that I get because I'm still technically have the membership.
Mhm.
And thanks to their 40-day turnaround time for the vintage, I was able to get that for $38 a book when you do my discount.
Okay.
And oh wait, no, it wasn't 38. It was 36. No, $34 a book. I'm sorry.
Something.
It math, man. So it was
That's
like $34 a book or something. I got a nice discount using my points and the membership discount. So I mean, we'll see what happens. But if they actually get my books and turn them around in 40 business days, I'm probably back to CBCS.
Well,
at least for vintage.
Yeah, and I mean, I would, based on the case that I seen that CBCS had, far superior. And I like CBCS's case for comics, but the one that they had made up for magazines, is far
If
superior.
they'll just figure out how to mass produce that, which is probably what their main issue is, because we know they have the test.
Yeah, they got the prototype. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they just get that thing going, man, they will knock CGC off the pedestal for magazines so hard and fast. Almost all of their business will probably go to CBCS for magazines.
But, is that a big enough business for them to want to be in? I guess is the question.
Well, it depends. I mean, we still have things being released like the Last Ronin. There were so many released, and it was magazine size. And how many people do you know submitted it to CGC, and were 2 years later or whatever they get it back?
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't one of those people that submitted it.
Well,
and,
if you
and
remember,
to flip it.
you see, Gary opened his. He got them back and everything. It was like, well, that one's cracked. That one's cracked. That one's cracked. He had to resend almost all of them for new cases. So, man, if they just get that thing done and start rolling it out, that's going to be a game changer. Well, okay, so that's vintage. So the next thing they have is they still do raw grading. I don't know why, but CBCS still does raw grading, and they have pricing for that. And for those of you watching that may not know, CBCS is the only place that I know of where you can send your book in a back-end board raw, as in it's not graded, and they will send it back to you graded, but not in a case, not in a slab. They send it back in like a Mylar and heavy, thick backer board. That's how they do it.
They put a seal on it too, though, right? On the board.
They put a sticker that says, if you open this.
Right. Yeah, there's some way to say that, hey, I didn't open it and switch it out.
But some people, I guess there's a good enough amount of people that want their book graded but don't want it in a slab. And they'll send it in. And it's, I'll just run through the standard, priority, and express price. $12, $18, and $26. I mean, I have nothing to say on that. It's, if people are doing it enough for them to have it, then more power to them.
Right.
Hey, Tricky, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't never see. You see people putting stuff up for sale. I just don't see that often. So I wonder if it's just collectors that want to watch it, right?
Thanks, Biggie. Yeah, well, I don't know, man. All I know is it's there if you want it. That's all I can say. And then the last thing they have is, instead of a walkthrough tier like they used to have, or a one-day tier, now they're calling it new, modern, vintage, any year, it doesn't matter. So basically, AF-15, this is the caliber book we're talking about. That is going into the premium tier, and premium is a 5-day turnaround time or less, and it's a flat $200. If you remember, CGC does a minimum of $150 for walkthrough tier, and it's I think at 5 days or 3 days now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, $200, and you don't have to worry about it being worth too much or anything. I think that might be. I mean, I want to say the word game changer, but I know it's not going to change the game. But it's still an excellent idea, and I really, really like this change that CBCS is doing. $200 for premium. You can send your AF-15s in, get them back in 5 days, and it's a flat 200, no matter if it's a 1.0 or a 9.2. Yeah, I really like that one. What do you think about that
one? Yeah, I don't know. I have that's. I've used that the walkthrough thing like once maybe, so I don't know. It's kind of like the grading the raw books. I just haven't used it enough to really.
I'm just going off the. If you send it in, it doesn't matter what grade it is or what book it is. The minimum is $150. Or I think CGC is like 3% of the fair market value. So if you're sending in like a 4.0 Hulk 1, I would much rather pay the flat $200 and get it back in the same amount of time. Because a 4.0 Hulk 1's what, like $40,000?
Yeah, at least.
Somewhere around there. So, I mean, the 3% on that's going to be way more than $200.
Yeah. So again, what I was saying earlier, it might just be their roundabout way of saying, hey, we would rather be in the high-end book game. So send us the stuff, but we rather, because I got to feel like the high-end book game is CGCs right now, right? Because people still view CGC as the top whatever, right? And I think that if CBCS can get the higher graded or higher, better books, enough of them, then people start to say, okay, I think that they're equal. It's just potato.
Well, I already trust CBCS grading a razor's edge more than CGC's grading. Okay. And their case is objectively better.
I'd agree.
If I've got high-end books, $200 flat fee, and to get in that CBCS case and have a CBCS grader look at it, to me, it's a no-brainer. CBCS every time. Plus, if you drop a book, a $20 book or a $20,000 book, there's a chance in the CGC case, because it's floating in there, that you could mess it up. There's like a 10% chance if you drop a CBCS case like that it's going to mess up.
Well, how many times have we gotten books back and you could go
CGC all the time. CBCS never with the new case. Not once. And I've tried.
you don't have Newton rings and all the other kind of stuff that CGC has problems with. Yeah.
No. So I think you're right. I think they're telling us, hey, we'll grade whatever, but we'd really prefer to grade this stuff. And we're set up for it because their vintage is set up for it. Their premium set up for it. If you notice, the modern and the new, not as set up for it, and they've not been focusing on them. They're still at 180 turnaround time business day. Where vintage is 40 and premium's 5, and the express tiers are all 15. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what they're doing. But overall, I am liking it, man. And for those of you that don't know, until the end of March, I believe, they're offering a 15% discount if you grade books with them. And I think it's only for vintage books. So it has to be stuff older than 75. But that's I
just don't know how I feel about being almost vintage.
Oh, you're almost vintage.
What's up, Tricky Trapster?
And more big shot, big. So that's $6 off every book. But you got to send in 5 books minimum, and it's got to be vintage, I believe. But that discount will give you $6 off a book. That's pretty good discount, actually. Yeah, that pretty much pays for the shipping if you send in just the 5. So, well, unless someone in the chat has a question with CBCS and this new stuff that they've posted about, I think we got it talked.
So,
That
do you
was,
think that these continued price increases in certain areas, like the less expensive books, do you feel like that one? I know it's going to deter some people to just say, "Screw it, I'm just not going to worry with grading it." But do you feel like that's going to open up a market for the smaller graders like EGS and PGX?
I think that it has a chance of doing that, and I hope I hope it does with EGS. I hope
Yeah,
it don't with PGS. But you know what I'm saying? But I mean,
yeah.
it's EGS Tony. Right now, I think it's still just him grading,
Mhm.
and he doesn't have the respect that he needs to make an impact in the market, and that's only because no one's using him. I mean, I haven't used him, even though he's got a new case that looks pretty good, man.
Yeah, I've
But
been wanting to send him a couple of things, just
I
stuff
just
that
don't
I'm
have
wanting to
this.
present well.
I don't have the spare cash. I got a whole Lois Lane collection that I think would look great. But the problem is right now with the pricing and everything that everybody's doing, he's actually with his turnaround time and everything, he's actually a little bit worse.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, well let me just go to his website here.
Because I would
And
think if I'm Tony and I'm or PGX even, I would say, hey, look, these guys, CGC and CBCS, they want to get in the bigger book game. That's giving us a niche. Let's try to get everybody that just wants to grade because they like the presentation of the book. Let's get those guys. So let's keep our prices
yeah.
low. We'll grab our inventory and we'll
Well,
boost our thing and we'll go from there.
here's EGS. And by the way, guys, don't be afraid of EGS. Tony's a good guy. He uses the Overstreet. If you're okay with the turnaround time, if you're okay with the price, and you don't want to support the big dogs, EGS is a fine option. And he also has custom labels like you
Yeah.
haven't seen.
Hold on. Let me get the one. I've only got. Well, actually, I got two cases, but I got one that's really handy.
All right. Well, I'm going to make Southern large here when he comes back, and he'll show you what we mean by all the custom labels that he has. I mean, there's literally hundreds and hundreds of labels that he could do for you. I mean, that's really his golden ticket as far as
That's
his
right.
grading
This is
opportunity.
this is the old case, so it has these things on the side, which were what most people didn't like.
Yeah, and
But
the stuff on top.
that's right. But as you can see right here, the Beta Ray Bill blends in with this right here.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
on
good one.
purpose. So he can do the art thing. That's another thing I like. That's what CBCS does. So the grade doesn't really take away from the book because I feel like
Yeah,
because this is what this was about was the Beta Ray
right, the
Bill.
art.
Yeah, it
And
wasn't
and
about
I think it's worth saying that as far as I know, EGS and CBCS are the only companies that allow for art to be graded like that.
I do not believe. I know CGC does not. I don't think PGX does either.
So that's another up that he has over at least two of the three
And
competitors
he sends a certificate of authenticity with all these.
with
too.
Raiders notes.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, which now that the big two have the barcodes that they do with the QR code. I mean,
right.
I kind of wish that Tony would take that up. But as long as you're getting the graders notes, we can allow him time to do that later. Now, do you have the other one, or did you only grab the one?
I only grabbed the one. The other one's in
Right.
the new comic room.
Well, so here is Tony's pricing. Now, Tony is the only other company other than CBCS as well that he will do raw grading for you. And that's $10. Now, as far as his turnaround times and pricing, here, modern standard turnaround time is $20 per book, which that's actually less than everybody. But it's 70 business days.
Ooh.
That's longer than CGC, and it's shorter than CBCS, but only for the standard tier. His silver and gold tier is $25 a book, and that's cheaper than everybody.
Yeah.
But again, 70 business days. Now, he calls that expert certified choice. and Expert Certified Premier is 10 business days, which beats everybody except walkthrough tiers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's $35 a book for modern, which is a couple dollars more than the CBCS for new and $1 more than CBCS for modern for their uh, priority tier, but it's like 50 business days sooner. So that was 10 business days. And silver gold is $40 a book. Then he has a 3 to 5 business day tier that's called Ultimate. And it's $55 for a modern book and $70 for a silver or golden age book. And then he has same day, which is 1 to 3 business days. It's 90 for modern, 100 for the older stuff. And then he has a signature series that he does. He does have a pressing service and a cleaning service, and you can look that up on your own. So as far as the standard stuff, he's okay on his pricing. He's either competitive or cheaper, but as of right now, his standard is 70 business days.
Well, and that goes back to him being, basically
one guy.
Yeah. And he's got a job elsewhere, right? So
he's going to probably have to get to where it's 180 business days, and then he actually hires some people, and then he can probably bring that down. And so it's just a matter of us using him, and I just don't have the spare cash. Otherwise, I would do some grading with him. Hey, Captain.
Happy birthday, Captain Comics.
Yeah. But anyway, since no one else in the chat mentioned that they had anything, what we will do is get out of here. And hey, that's the turnaround time for CBCS update. I'm liking what I'm seeing. They still got work to do. But anyway, we'll get out of here. Southern, you got anything scheduled that you want to advertise?
Nothing scheduled yet. CGC has some magazine grading that is in grading and encapsulation, and I think they got 1 week left on that, on their turnaround time. So total turnaround time. So I'm hoping that I'll have some unboxing pretty soon.
Cartoon Crew?
Not this weekend, no.
All right. Well, I don't know when my next video will be. It might be like this one, just surprise, or I might have something scheduled. I don't know. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you later, and you have a good night.
Adios.